I remember you, the you who loved me too. Your love that used to mean everything to me. Although in your mind you're gone, still my love for you is strong. A love that used to be everything to me. The love we share will always know. Although I said goodbye to you a long time ago, now you're just a body, and I don't know who's inside, but I love you still, and I always will. Yes, I love you still, and I always will. I love you still, and I always will. Yes, forever.
Okay, holding hands with creativity after diagnosis. I can say I did that. I have done that, and this is how I've done that. And I wonder sometimes, and I'm sure you wonder, how in the world did you get to where you are today? What got us here? And so when I was diagnosed, I thought, what the hell? Why me? How did I get here? What do I do? And I'm sure we all go through that. And from that, the path that we're on, the path that any one of us is on, we have a choice. We have a choice to make it as good as we can make it, or we have a choice to sit in a dark room, watch television, and let it come on. So I chose the choice that's the only right one for me, and that's start kicking and fighting and taking names. So that's kind of what I have done. My dad walked this path before me. And God bless him, he passed from complications of Alzheimer's in 2002. So that has been kind of a back, I know he's looking down today. That's kind of been a walking hand in hand with me down this journey that he couldn't speak about. And before I can't, maybe, then I'm going to scream as loud as I can. So I really appreciate you guys being here today. We need to pass the word along. Alzheimer's doesn't have a cure. We need one. So, click. I'm actively retired. My kids would tell you, oh no, you haven't retired. However, I have, and I'm staying busy. And there really isn't windows in here, but if there were a window up there, I look at that window, I look at the sunshine outside that window, and I say, that's where I'm going, because that's where the cure is. It's every day, every day. When I don't feel quite right, every day I climb to that window with the sunlight because I know there's going to be a cure. We have to fight for it. Writer. I do write, and you'll learn a little more about that later on. When you say C-R-L-E after my name, I'm a high school graduate. I never had initials behind my name on a business card. So one day I was with somebody, went to lunch with them, and for some reason, I looked at her card, and I looked at the initials, and I said, can I just ask, what does R-L-E mean? She said, you sure can, eye to eye to me. She says it means real life experiences. And I thought, yeah! So for years, I have said, hey, Nancy Nelson, real life experiences. So that's what the RLE is. I'm a 50-year resident of Las Vegas, Nevada. I love Las Vegas. And so I have no trouble now when I'm in need and people that you know are in need that, hey, rally around Las Vegas. and everywhere. We need your help. Family history, my mom. My mom was right down the road, not much wiggle and wobble. Her motto was, when you get up in the morning, you take a shower, you get dressed, put on makeup, and you're going to feel just fine. So what do? I get up in the morning, I take a shower, I put on makeup, and I'm just fine. I had my dad, who passed in 2002, he and I had a real soft spot for one another. He didn't fight Alzheimer's as best I know, and we didn't know to fight for him. So I'm here on his behalf, fighting for 2 and 3 and 4 and 5.4 million in the US, good Lord. And the numbers are just going out off the charts. So it's here, and you can't ignore it. Even if it's not in your life right this minute, you can't ignore it. Children, I'm blessed to have Michelle. And actually, I have a rock that she gave me that I look at every day. She painted this rock for me, so this is my rock to do that, being blessed each morning by my children. And then I have Jennifer, who helps me all the time, every day. Grandchildren, you see their pretty faces up there. Braden and Delaney and Rachel Ann and Jack. And I'm blessed every day to be around them, to hear from them, and to have their nurturing love. It's really important to be creative because, you know, those kids keep you going. I'm going to a sports this or a sports that, or oh my gosh. And so you're so on the move, you can hardly think about dear me, poor me, pity me. We don't want to do that. We don't want to spend any time there. Living life, I've done that. I've been married and divorced a time or two. Western Airlines, Delta Airlines. I was in the airline world for almost 30 years. Loved it. It was a great way to grow up. Sprint triathlon, I have done that. I went to an Ironman and said, you know, I can do that. How foolish was I? I came home and did a sprint. I learned how to ride a bike, I learned how to swim, and I learned how to run farther than the mailbox and back. I did that. I laugh because I say I was the you know, the only one. I got first place. I was the only one in my age group, 60 to 64. Only one. I got first place. I took it. I took it. I've worked for Aflac. It's a fun company to work for. Aflac. Everybody laughs when you walk in with Aflac, so that was a good thing for the last 10 years, and I just retired from there. I've done some half marathons. I didn't keep too much good time, but you know what? I did it. I made the intention, and I did it. That's important. You have to make an intention and do it. Then I started noticing, oh my gosh, little things. You know, appointments, missing appointments. Getting a telephone call that said, Nancy, where are you? Are you coming? I was gut-wrenched. I just get gut-wrenched. I think, oh my God, have I done this again? Yep, I have. Then I would forget people. I'd be working with people, and the next day I wouldn't know their name, know what I did. Certainly knew what the paperwork said, but in my mind I could not. So put it all together. So those were little arrows that kept darting at me that I just ignored. Forgetting things. You know, we talk about what we lose, and that a lot of it is normal as a senior. Well, I lost my glasses before I had these cute little things. I lost my glasses, went out and bought a new pair, and I'll be darned if I didn't lose them again. And diamond ring, I lost my diamond ring. I know it's going to come back to me, but I lost it. It's gut-wrenching to know when these things happen that it might be a signal to do something. At this point, I just happened to notice it. Medical is important, but I was 68 years old before I paid any attention at all to my health in terms of having anything wrong with me. I was perfectly okay. It was everybody else that was having a problem. And suddenly I had an aortic valve replacement. I got a telephone call one afternoon at 3 o'clock on a Friday, doctor's office telling me, you have an appointment on Monday morning. I said, to myself, because it was too late to call on Friday, I said, not me, I don't have any appointment. Haven't been feeling good, was training for a half marathon and wasn't feeling good. So Monday morning I call. And I say, you know, I think you got the wrong Nancy Nelson. It's not me. And they said, no, it is you. It's been a year since you've been in here. I said, you know what? This is a sign. I'll be in. It is from that telephone call that they discovered that a pin, the head of a pin, was the amount of blood that was flowing through my system, through the aortic valve, and I could have gone any time. So it was a blessing. I had a lot of anesthesia that was given to me, and how many of you have read that if you have surgeries or whatever and you have anesthetic, that it does take a toll on your memory. Took a toll on mine. I kept saying, it's just because I had the heart valve replacement. I love to work, thought I would work forever, thought I'd be working today. I am enjoying volunteering, but working is what I thought that I would be doing. And that was with AFLAC, because that's been my last 10 years. Well, 2.5 years ago, actually, a girlfriend and I went on a trip. We were gone for 3 weeks. I thought I'd died and gone to heaven. 3 weeks vacation. Wow. She had a cute little 2-seater. She had an Audi, and it was a convertible. And we were driving across to North Carolina, and we were just having one good hell of a time. It was fun. We were laughing and joking. Along the way, we stopped with friends. They handed us the book Still Alice. I did not know much about Still Alice or the book. So when the top was up and the music was down, then I would read Still Alice going across country to my girlfriend in the car. So it is that made me know, because I had some of the struggles that Alice had in this book, and I thought, ooh, which led me to going to doctors. I don't like doctors, never had a use for them. This was a very difficult thing for me to do. So I went to my primary care doctor and said, hey, these things are happening. Do you think it's because of the anesthetic from the aortic valve? No, it's been going on way, way too long. Okay. And he did some tests. Don't ask me what they are, I forget. And he said, you know, you need to go to a neurologist. So I do. I go to a neurologist. As we're getting out of the car to go to the last neurologist meeting before the diagnosis, Jennifer says to me, Mom, do you really want to know? Hell no. No, I don't want to know. And I said, but I really believe we ought to go. She said, okay, we went. Cut it short. He looked at us and he said, you have early onset Alzheimer's. You know, you might think you have something. You might worry that you have something. But when that doctor looks you eye to eye and says you have it, there's something that happens. I was jarred in ways that I could not believe. Jennifer and I went out to the car. We hugged one another. We cried. I went to an alternative doctor. I liked him. He wanted me to draw a clock. I couldn't do the round. I couldn't make the clock. And I couldn't put that it was 4 o'clock until he walked me through the process. We did some more tests, and I became an active partner in my own health. Creatively, you have to do that. You have to look and see what supplements work or don't work. You have to look at what they're telling you that you want. They want you to take medication-wise. Do you agree with it? Why? You just have to become a partner in your own health. And I believe that I have done that. Week after I get the diagnosis, dark, early, 3 to 5 a.m. in the morning, every single morning I would wake up and I would write. And I don't know how I got the yellow pad in my bedroom to do that or the pen that was handy, but it was there, and I would just write and write and write. The culmination of that writing depicted uncharted territories for me. It absolutely made me look at things that I would not normally look at. Writing is cathartic. It's like journaling. How many journal? It's really hard for some people to journal, and they say they can't. And I think it's all about, and it's only me, and all of my opinions are only mine. So I'm no expert on anything except what I think about Nancy. But writing is really, really cathartic. If you've got a problem and you will take the minutes to write, believe me, you will walk away happier and healthier, and that's what I have done. The culmination of that is Blue River Apple. It is an exploration through It's an exploration, let me read this, right? An exploration of Alzheimer's through poetry. And so these are 60 poems that I have written in the book. And I would like to just read one of those poems for you today. This is the poem. I'm going to give you a little background. When I decided to out myself, oh, you know what? I was going to go down here to this. Deciding to out myself. This is how I did it. I was going to a business meeting once a week, 50 people there. I sell insurance, and I think I need to get their attention, and I also need to say, hey, this is what I'm struggling with. So this is the poem I wrote. Blue River Apple. Today's journey. Develop courage. Splash on a smile. Be who I want to be, not afraid of who I am becoming. To awake at night fearful of forgetting important and precious things like people, dates, times, appointments. I am not in control. Please help me, God. Thoughts jumble, words disappear, mix up. Times mix up, promises go astray. When I hear, where are you going? No, why are you going? Where are you going? Where are you? Are you coming? Eyes water, stomach churns, humbled in disbelief. I know I have done it again. Do I stay home, cancel, quit, or fight for the rite of passage through fog? Silently I say, I am not what I appear. I am sorry for what you see. Breathe in courage, splash on a smile, struggle to remember I must find pieces of myself and revel in who I know I am. Chin up, treading lightly in new, uncharted waters. I want to be positive. I am productive. I am loving and beloved. I'm grateful, creative, alive. Therefore, I am blessed with a voice to tell my inner story. This is an excerpt from the poem Blue River Apple. I'm going to skip this one. I don't know where we are time-wise.
You're fine.
Okay, so let me come back to that. Creatively living with the diagnosis says that I am retired. It says that I'm volunteering. I hope to be volunteering here at Cleveland Clinic up in the library. That would be a good thing for me, and I would love that. Healthy eating, let's talk about it. Oh my gosh, do I love sweets. How many like sweets here? Worst thing you can do. Worst thing you can do. I know that intellectually. I almost know what a person that takes drugs knows. Honest to God, I can't quit. I start and I cannot quit. So you have to find a way to get on the right path. And there's so many diets out there with fresh veggies and Indian cuisine and Mediterranean cuisine, and I wouldn't begin to tell you where to go. I just say you need to look, and you need to find what will work for you. Don't get off on some, if you can't cook every day, don't get one of those, don't try the Whole30 for crying out loud, which I'm doing now because you really have to cook every day almost, So, but find something that is good for that, because eating, I think, is the #1 thing that has turned me around. Puzzles and games. Well, we've got all kinds of those. Sudoku, crossword puzzles. You can get on the internet and be puzzled to death. They're supposed to be good for us. Book clubs, writing clubs. This is a little mixed up, so it was just to see if you could follow. That was good. Yes, just to see if you could follow that. Socially engaged all the time. So you do want to be able to stay connected. And I can't tell you how many times that I am at home and I will say, oh God, I don't want to go. I really don't want to go. I don't want to put a smile on my face. I don't want to make the best of it. I don't want to go. I kick myself in the ass, go up, touch up the makeup, put on a clean pair of clothes, and I'm out of the house. Because socially engaged is an important factor in keeping us up and going. And I have to be creative about that, because I don't always want to go. Believe that. Traveling. I've been traveling a lot. Those that follow me on Facebook, please do follow me. Go to Blue River Apple on Facebook. I've been traveling a lot. I am having such fun. Why didn't I retire a long time ago? Exercising. Exercising. I don't know how many get on treadmills. Think about it. You need to work the muscles. I walk. I have a knee injury right now, but I usually walk 3 miles a day, 4, 5, 6 days a week, and I go to yoga 3 or 4 times a week. And I will tell you that I'm really taken with yoga right now. It stretches your muscles, it calms you down, just like journaling. It calms you down so that you can start thinking. You can make better decisions because you're not so frenzied and you're not rushing to here and rushing to there. It's just really, really cathartic and good. So those are some of my examples. Dogs, animals. We have Levi at our house, German Shepherd, rescue dog. That dog has more hair than I could ever imagine. Oh my goodness. So if you have an answer for dog hair, please. If we could just come up with something that worked, can you imagine the millions we'd make? The Alzheimer's Association and the Cleveland Clinics and all of the people that are working for us in Alzheimer's, they would really appreciate the funds that we could give them. That would be great. Okay, making sense of the senseless. Signs, occurrences no longer can be ignored, so I chase down the answers to the unanswerable. But diagnosis of dwindling memory comes my way. Still, I falter in ways to make sense of this. I can ignore. I can take the meds they recommend, neither of which I intend to do. How do I make sense of AD? I think it is to make a difference. It is the only way. Perhaps telling my story, describing fears and depicting vulnerability in a personal log disclosed and on display. Uncover my secret, the constant affront for all to see. So this is a photo that was taken a couple of years ago, and I like to think instead of walking away that we're walking towards something. At this point, we didn't know anything was going on, but holding hands, being with family. And this is a little information about Nancy and how you can contact me should you choose to do that. And Alzheimer's, that's what this is all about. So I'm done, so thank you for your attention.
Thank you all for coming, and I'd like to say hello and good afternoon. I really appreciate being a part of this event. I want first to thank Cleveland Clinic for Brain Health for having us as guests today, specifically Dr. Went and Susan, who made this possible for us, and Jennifer for meeting with us and doing such a wonderful job with our PowerPoint. The Cleveland Clinic kind of became like home to me and my husband. Since it opened. We were here from the very beginning when it opened. This is after making many, many mistakes, many errors with other doctors, other places. We found Cleveland Clinic just by, believe it or not, looking at Dr. Oz, and I saw Dr. Burnick on it. And we had made so many mistakes going so many places. They would give tests, which I couldn't pass, my son couldn't pass, so we knew my husband couldn't pass. And we walked out of lots of places. So after I saw Dr. Burnick on Dr. Oz, just by accident, I called there and I got a voicemail. And getting the voicemail, I left a message, not thinking I'd ever get an answer. Someone called me back and said, you need to go to Cleveland Clinic, because I was ready to go to UCLA to take Cleveland. And they told me this clinic was opening. So we were one of the first patients. As a matter of fact, when we started, they didn't even know what their insurance was going to be. My journey started in 2009. We retired here from Las Vegas. My husband was a successful businessman for about, I'd say he has his own business for about 10 years. And we retired, we moved here. I retired from NASA, and we were just going to have fun here in Vegas. We worked some conventions. We did a lot of stuff, and I started noticing kind of erratic behavior. And in questioning this behavior, I started observing what was going on, and I knew that it wasn't him. So I started documenting stuff and writing stuff to try to find out and answer what was going on. I called our son, there he is, Eric, and we kind of discussed it, and I just decided, you know, we need to find out what's going on. I wanted to deny it, but I knew deny it would only make the disease, if something was going on, worse. I really didn't want to get an answer, but I figured I had to have an answer. So I started going to doctors. I called family members and friends to help me. And a very close friend of mine traveled from Chicago, as well as our son from up north. And they started reading. I had to just write everything because things happened constantly that were quite erratic, you know. Like he called me and said, he was working part-time at the Rio. He called me and said, they just let me go. And I said, okay. So he came home and I said, well, you can get unemployment. And we applied for unemployment. We hired a lawyer and paid a lot of money. We went to court. We came out of court. The lawyer said, Mr. Johnson kind of threw me for a loop there. And I said, well, what happened? He said that when they put him under oath, he couldn't lie. And I said, what do you mean? He said he told his boss, he called his boss and said, I want you to fire me so I can get unemployment. And so the boss said, okay. And so that's what happened. But Cleve told me something different. And on the way home, we didn't say anything because I knew this was not like him to do this. Although I'm thinking about my $800 I just given this lawyer that it's gone, you know. So I said there is something wrong. So that way I started going to different doctors. I went to, my son came down, and of course this is Dr. Wendt. My son came down and we started visiting different places, and we kind of ended up here. We went to several doctors, like I said. They would start giving us tests to do, and we would try to answer the questions, like they said, start at 100 and deduct 7. Well, I got to 7 and I couldn't go any farther, and my son couldn't either, so we were saying, well, you know, maybe we all have problems. And we left. I told him, I said, we can't do this. This is not happening here. We just can't do it. We went to another doctor, another psychiatrist, the same test. So I said, no, we're not going to do that. So we finally decided that, you know, maybe after looking at what Dr. Bernick had said, we made our appointment here at Cleveland Clinic. And that's when we met. It wasn't Dr. Wendt at first. It was another doctor, Dr. Shriller or something like that. I can't remember his name. He was the first one here. And he had us do tests, the PET scans and CAT scans, and he talked to us and he walked through everything with us to show us what was going on, what we needed to do. I wrote down everything. And my friend wrote down everything, because the doctors I had gone to earlier, the psychiatrists, if I made a second visit to them, they would tell me something different. And I'd have to remind them, this is a conflict of what you told me before. So we started doing our own research. And we researched medication, we researched people with the disease, and we started realizing people really didn't know anything about Alzheimer's disease. They had it all categorized into senility or dementia, but they didn't really know anything about the disease. And that, you know, it's anybody's disease, but it's an individual journey. So being our journey, we just wrote. And in writing, it would help me as a release. It came out and I had it on paper, and I could remind these doctors, this is what you said, this is not what you're saying now. So what is this? So we left many doctors. And the AD patient, they know something is wrong. So you don't have to pretend to them that nothing is wrong. You just accept it, and you learn to observe what's going on with them. You write it down, and you accept it. You work with them. It's not contagious. They love to be hugged. They love to be touched. They love for you to listen to them. What they're saying might not be what they really mean. So you've got to write that down because you watch what they're doing. And when you watch what they're doing, you also see what they're saying. And that way you compare the two. You can later understand what they really meant because they know what they're trying to get out to you, but they just can't verbalize it. And I did that. I just wrote a lot. Like I said, it's an individual journey. It doesn't know wealth. It doesn't know age. It doesn't know color. It can attack anybody. And it's happening daily by the minute. But there's no answer. It's an epidemic for the baby boomer. And if you don't work together and pay our information that we find forward to other people, that's the only way we're going to find a cure or a way to do anything. We have to pass on the wisdom that we get. And that's what I do. I journalize, I talk to other people, and I try and help other people. It's your characteristics, your behavior, the person, the AD person, this disease enhances that. You might find a person who is not very talkative, but then you need to look at what that person is doing, what the person is saying, and you make note of that because they're trying to tell you something. They can't do it. It's difficult for them, and they know something is wrong. So the more you document, the more you write. You can't write enough. You continue to write. The personality plays an integral part because the personality either changes drastically or it's enhanced. Now, when it changes, you got to realize that person that you knew, he's still in there somewhere. And you remember what they were, and you bring that back to them. Like anything we do it constantly. If I go to CVS, I take the same route. If I go to visit someone, I take the same route. I never deviate because deviation can cause a lot of frustration and confusion. And I've learned in our situation that repetitiveness can help the short-term memory become long-term memory. Because I've noticed that if I go a certain way, my husband will say, oh, we're going to CVS. If I deviate, it's like, where are you going? If we go to the same stores, I go to the same clerk. That clerk eventually learns his name, and they know him by, it's Cleveland. They know who he is, and that's the way they greet him. So you have to create a routine and don't deviate from it. When you deviate, it causes frustration, lots of frustration. I mean, even like the same pharmacy, we go there, it's, hi Cleveland, how are you doing? Hi Patricia, how are you doing, or where have you been? Now, he's not a very social person by nature, he never has been. So we had to create socialism. So he likes the casino and he likes to play the dime keno. We go there, and believe me, I've traveled all over the world with him. And he played with the Lakers, he fought in Vietnam, and I go along with it because the people that he meets at the casino, this is their world too. They've done this, and there's no need of trying to change that. You accept that and just let it go. So he meets his friends there. I doubt if they know his name or he know their names, but they talk, they meet, and this is a form of socialization for him, and it makes him happy. So I just sit there and I do it, you know. He wants to win a jackpot. When he doesn't, he curses the machines out, and, you know, kind of we go home. When he gets tired, I've noticed, I observe all the time, he gets tired. I can see when he's fatigued. And that's when I know it's time to end whatever we're doing, leave, change the discussion, and we go. Because it causes even more discussion when you stay there. So we just go home, we relax. And I've learned that we go to bed very early. And when we go to bed early, it's because that's when he talks. And when he talks, I can understand, okay, how was your day? Okay, now we go over what he did today. And then what's more important is that I'll say, okay, how did you enjoy what happened today? That's when you really learn how he felt about it, what he liked, what he didn't like. And he tells you that. We journalize together. I'll have him write down, okay, what you did, where did we do it, and I help. And I say, how'd you feel about that? He says a few potty mouth words, but anyway, we go over that and I just let it go and I understand and he didn't like that. So we got to kind of work around that and do something else. But even being human, sometimes you get frustrated as a caregiver, but what you do, you try to find a way to work around it. You take a deep breath and then you just start over and just, let it go. Just go right ahead with them. And whether they make a mistake or not, so what? We all make mistakes. That's just a part of life. You have to look. You always watch. You look at them. You listen to what they're saying and what they're trying to articulate. But you also listen to what they're not saying. And you can sometimes see the activity that they're doing, but you understand they mean something else. And you make note of that. And if you make note of that long enough, you will know what they're trying to tell you. And in trying to tell you that, you can kind of go along with the conversation and maybe put the word in that they're trying to say, but keep on with it and just keep it moving as though it's not a big deal. But you do make a note and you keep it there. It's a trial and error kind of thing with conversation. You never know what you might have to come back to. That's why you keep these notes, because something that worked today, it might not work tomorrow, but it might work next week. So you journalize. You can't write enough. You have to understand that you write what was said, when was said, who said it, how he said it, and what it meant to him, how it affected him. Wherever you go, you have to watch. You have to watch. And you don't make a big deal of it. You just kind of, listen. You need a release as a caregiver, and writing was a release to me. When I would write it, it comes out, it's on the paper, I have it. It's therapeutic, as Nancy said. And I write all the time. And just writing became my book. And being creative, like even with Dr. Wendt, I would often discuss with him the small things that I did to make life easier for us. For instance, if I say, what do you want to eat? He'll say, I don't know, you tell me. So I think about the things he used to eat. He doesn't like those anymore. I fix what he says he wants. He doesn't eat it. It's okay. We go to the buffet. At the buffet, we walk around there. This allows him to select whatever he wants. It's the dichotomy of he makes his own decision. He picks the foods he wants because he sees them. When he sees them, this puts a name with them. And then I know what to write, what he wants to fix. Because he knows what he wants. He can't articulate it, but he knows. So we go to the buffet and he sees it. And that's it. And we write it down. In the bathroom, men have lots of things for hygiene. I noticed that we had too many things in there, and these bottles, your deodorant has all kinds of stuff on it. The toothpaste also has all kinds of stuff on it. Well, sometimes you pick up the wrong thing. So I started making large postums, and I wrote exactly deodorant in big words. I pasted it all over the front. Toothpaste, I put that all over the front, and I left it there. It's there. He doesn't have to read the other stuff, he reads that. And it helped. It helps a lot. You have to do what's going to make life easier for you in this journey. And it saves my sanity. It allows him to be independent. And it causes him to be able to take care of himself. Now I'll sit in there and I'll watch. And I, watch what he's doing. He picks up the right thing because the other stuff was confusing. Deodorant has all this kind of stuff on it. And he might pick up the toothpaste instead of the deodorant bottle, but with the big white signs, that's all that he sees on there. In dealing with the different doctors and the different medications, I decided to research all the medications that were given to us. And there were some that had a lot of side effects that I didn't want to deal with. So I researched herbs and how we can put the herbs with the medicine, Western medication with the herbs, and what was said about them and how it started working. And I discussed it with Dr. Wendt, and he told me, he said, well, let's try it. And we start trying it, and I can see the difference in the various herbs. It did work. He went to the hospital. He was there 7 days, and they didn't want to give him the herbs. I said, either you give him the herbs or we leave. The doctor took his herbs and sent those herbs down to the lab and told them, you put code on these. She would give him the herbs, you give him the rest of the medicine, because I was not going to have them stop or cause him to regress because he was sick. And they did that. It's just that you've got to be very proactive, watch, and constantly watch. And like I said, the main thing about it is notice fatigue, because fatigue does make them confused, and it causes them to be really disgruntled, and the behavior is erratic until they get the kind of rest they need. And you just, again, listen carefully to what he's saying, watch what they're doing. And he's saying something and you realize that there's a word that he wants to say. Just say the word. Give him the word and don't make a big deal with it. Continue the conversation and just let it go. It makes life easy for everybody. The regimen that you have, don't change it. Like I was saying, you go to the same place, you go the same route, you do the same things. And sometimes you need to write down everything that you do the way you do it, because sometimes when you have to change that regimen, you might have to revert back to something you did before, and you go back to it. But creativity is ultimately instrumental in the success of traveling this journey. You have to realize that it has to be the individual that you're dealing with. It's their journey, and it's yours also. If he goes to Alaska and you're sitting in your living room, you go with him, you know, whatever. Like I said, if he played for the Lakers, okay, you cheered him on. But just, you know, come back to your own reality. Don't forget to do that. And it really makes life really easy. He does his word search. I do it with him. You're going to get frustrated. You just kind of refocus and go ahead and try to find a different way of doing something. And just always remind yourself that it is not their fault. This is a poem that was written by an anonymous person, and I like to read it. Do not ask me to remember. Do not ask me to remember. Don't try to make me understand. Let me rest and know you're with me. Kiss my cheek and hold my hand. I'm confused beyond your concept. I'm sad and sick and lost. All I know is that I need you to be with me at all costs. Do not lose your patience with me. Do not scold or curse or cry. I can't help the way I'm acting. Can't be different though I try. Just remember that I need you, that the best of me is gone. Please don't fail to stand beside me. Love me till my life is done. Author unknown. And these are my family members that have been our support group. My nephew, great nephew, Cody, the little boy. Believe it or not, he's only 3, but his Uncle Queeve, as he calls him, he's there twice a week. And when they were asking for pictures, I looked at all the pictures we had, and there's an interaction with him everywhere. That's another girlfriend that came to visit. That's my sister, but he's on the end. My brother, and that's our son again. That's my brother, his wife. There's Cody again, my mom. And this is my book. That's a result of all of my writing. And let's end Alzheimer's. Okay. Question, huh?
You have to speak.
Okay. Okay, we're going to take questions now. Anyone?
Scared?
I just want to make a comment. It was interesting to listen to both of your stories, and I've known Nancy for a little while, and it's just been inspirational. And you know, you help us all, whether we're caregivers or we know of someone that's dealing with it or whatever. But this is such an important part of what we need and why we're here at Cleveland Clinic. So thank you very much.
And you know, I learned that.
Can you kind of repeat that so they know what she just said?
Okay. One of the members of the group here in Las Vegas just said that she was very inspired by our speech and that as I was about to say, we all know someone, have a relative, or know someone who has this disease. And this is an inspiration to her. And we pay it forward, and we all work together to try to end this disease.
And thank you for the song, that brought tears to my
The song was beautiful. Very, very nice. Very nice.
Any other questions?
Anybody else?
Are there others in your family with this disease?
My dad had Alzheimer's. Did you? Oh.
And no one in my family.
So your husband is the first?
Mm-hmm.
The question was, do we have others in our family that have been diagnosed with Alzheimer's? And yes, I do. My father.
And I don't have anyone but my husband. Anyone else?
Like when you're writing, what are you usually journaling about? Like, do you feel like you're writing to yourself or to like an outside audience?
You know, for me, because I would wake up so early in the morning, it was dark outside, it was cold, I'd burrow under and the words came to me as though I was possessed by something far greater than myself. My hand never stopped, and that's for months and months. And when I wake up now, early mornings, my hand does not stop. So I'm not really sure. Woohoo! I'm not really sure what makes that happen, but it is as though someone else is writing it.
Are they usually addressed in a first-person narrative? Like,
Always.
do you-
Can you repeat the questions?
Oh, sorry. The question was, what was the question? Oh,
Oh, how do you start writing?
there you go.
And for me, I needed release, something to release it. And I do know that if you write whatever, anything that's inside of you, it's just like talking to another person. It gives you release. It comes out. When it's on the paper, it's out of you. And it does work. All you have to do, I mean, it doesn't matter what it is, just write. And the more you write, the better you get.
And you know, I never read poetry, let alone write it. So, I mean, it was like unbelievable for me to have this connection that spoke from my inner self.
And I'd like to add one other thing, that my husband and I listened to the healing scriptures every night for 5 years. It didn't go off. These were healing scriptures by any pastor, but we used John Hagee. We listened to them over and over and over again every night. And this, if he would wake up during the night, I'd turn it back on. He'd listen, he'd go back to sleep. We did it all the time, and we still do it.
So with all the things that you did for your loved ones, do you see signs of them coming back or going further away?
The question is, with all the things that I've done with my loved ones, do I see them?
Do you see memory returning, them getting better?
Do I see the memory returning or getting better? I do, as I said, like, it's only because I do repetitive things. And with the repetitive things, to me, I really believe a short-term memory becomes long-term memory if you do it over and over again. You just keep doing it over and over again, but don't change. You cannot change, you don't deviate. And it does help. It helps a lot because right now, my husband still drives, and he was diagnosed in 2009. And Dr. Wentz said that he's 99%. He calls him his poster child. And he dresses and he does whatever, he curses me, he does everything. So he hasn't changed. But it does help just to, it's repetitive. You just have to do that.
And for you?
Well, what I notice the most is that I can sit at my desk, aside from getting the poems early morning, I can sit at my desk and do something that should take or would have taken me 15 minutes to do previously. It can take me 2 hours to do. It's like I've got a pair of wading boots on and I just can't move forward. I think I notice that as much as anything, and I don't know why that happens. And then the next day I get up and I do the same thing, and it's I don't know. That's where my glitch where my glitch comes. And so I don't get a chance to get towards the long term, because by the time I figure out what I'm supposed to do and I get it done, I don't remember, because I've tried several things.
So how, I'm sorry. So how does both of you feel about the medications that
The question is, how do we feel about the medications that are given for Alzheimer's disease? Personally, there are some medications that I do think are good. There's one medication that I refuse to let them give my husband, and that was Aricept. Because Aricept to me is a Band-Aid. And when I asked a doctor about that, I said, why are you giving me this medication? What's it gonna do? He looked at me, and I said, this is just a Band-Aid, it doesn't do anything. And he said, well, what do you mean? I said, it does nothing. I said, so he's not gonna take that. And I started telling him about other medications that we were using here from the Cleveland Clinic. And with the herbs that I'm using, he said, well, they're at the breaking edge of medicine. And I said, so what are you doing for your patients? Is giving them Aricept? Well, yeah, because they're at the breaking edge of medicine. That's all they could tell me. Mm-hmm. Now, my real reason for trying to write the book and get it out is that because of the pharmaceutical companies and their hold on the medical industry here, I'm sorry, they just can't say, take the herbs that she's given. The herbs are in my book. The herbs work. He drives, he writes, he watches TV, we talk. And this has been since 2009, okay? He takes his shower, he wants his cologne on. He wants his clothes to match. So to me, what I've incorporated together, it works. And I've been told by Dr. Went, don't change anything. He knows he can't promote the herbal medicine, but hey, if anybody buys the book, it's there, and I hope they do it because the combination has worked. And he's admitted that it works.
and what medicine do you think is good?
I use, oh God. Now, with the medication, prescription medication, I use Namenda, galantamine, and risperidone. With the herbal medication, I use 5-HTP, L-carnitine. I use turmeric. I use turmeric and specifically coconut oil and flaxseed oil. All those together. And then we use Bacopa and ginkgo. Mm-hmm, yep.
Can you ask if there's any questions at the remote site?
We'd like to know now if the remote sites have any questions for us. Hello?
No, but thank you for your presentations. They were very good today. Thank you.
Thank you.
It was very nice. Thank you again.
Thank you.
I have a question. If you have a family member who you think is just starting this journey, who do you contact for help?
Cleveland Clinic.
Just straight to the Cleveland Clinic? You take them to the doctor and they also are denying themselves that they have a problem. So what do you do as a family member? Call the Cleveland Clinic?
We would just ask if you find that a family member or person has Alzheimer's, what do you do initially? First of all, you accept the fact that there could be a problem. Yeah. You don't deny, don't cast it off and say, oh, it's senility, because it's not. It doesn't have to be. There are specific tests that Cleveland Clinic will do that the other doctors didn't do for us. It's the PET scan and it's another CAT scan. The PET scan is it shows you if the narrowing of the arteries over the ears, in the lobe of the ears, if it's narrowing, it shows you that there is indication it's the onset of Alzheimer's. And the earlier that you get this detection, especially the PET scan, it's when they can help you. Now, I do use another medication that's called advanced artery solution. This medication is supposed to expand the arteries, and we've been using that since 2009.
Yes.
I just want to commend both of you for focusing on Nancy, you nutrition specifically, and Patricia, you understanding the side effects of medications and going out and doing your own research and in telling the doctors what you're going to do. Because I think, I know that we feel like they walk on water or have that ability, when in actuality, they're the subcontractor and we're the general.
Exactly.
And so I really commend you for finding solutions with herbs that would counteract any side effects or help with the side effects.
Right, and that's why I like I said, if the book just helps one other person, because he's a living example that it works. He's sitting there, we get in the car, we're gonna drive home. And the pharmaceutical companies, they got their hands tied, I'm sorry. And like at the hospital, it was Mountain View Hospital. You know, the doctor told them, said that you need to listen to her, because if you don't do what she says, and you don't put the barcode on the medicine, she's not gonna stay here. And that was his primary doctor.
Would you repeat that? What, they don't know what we were talking about.
Oh, and the question was the fact that I did research on herbal medications as it interacts with prescription medication, and how I was proactive in saying, this is what I'm going to give my husband. I've researched this, and this does work. Anyone else?
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Nancy,